Hello, everyone, and welcome to our this month's Lunch and Learn. Today, I am pleased to announce that we have Karen Chapman here with us, who is an accreditation specialist at the Council of Social Work Education and is here to talk with us about her international social work experience. So please join me in welcoming Karen, and I'm going to hand it over to her at this point. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you for that great introduction. And thank you all for having me come to speak about international social work. So I'll just give you a lay of the land. This is a presentation, but I would like for it to be very interactive. I will have time for questions and answers at the end. But if there's something that you think about as you listen to me speak, please feel free just to ask. Because we have about an hour today to be together. So on the screen, you will see the items that I would like for you to learn. I'm hoping that you'll learn these items as well. There may be other things that I didn't think about, but definitely I want you to understand how to use your own social and professional networks as employment resources for social work opportunities overseas, and to understand what it is like as an international social worker. I'm going to give you my personal view and some professional perspectives. In addition, to become familiar with the social work credentialing, and professional organizations in the Republic of Ireland, because I was a social worker in the Republic of Ireland. And to also learn about the International Federation of Social Workers. So here's the agenda of how I think how things will go today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my connection to Dublin, Ireland, provide you with some background information about Dublin, my employment while I was there, just some tidbits about social work in Ireland, and international social work resources, and then we'll do a Q&A section. So my connection to Ireland, specifically Dublin, Ireland, which is the capital of the Republic of Ireland, came through my best friend. Her name is Ruth, and we've been best friends since high school, so that's been quite a while. We met in high school. Her dad was from my hometown. He was a merchant marine. Met her mom when they were docked when his ship was docked in Liverpool. Her mom was visiting relatives in that area. He saw her. It was love at first sight. There you go. And then he decided, because Dublin at the time, they lived in Dublin for a very long time, that things at that point were getting really dangerous with drugs, etc., some violence. So he decided to move them to North Carolina, to our hometown. And that's how we met. At that point, when I met her, I'd never been overseas, always wanted to go. But we became the best of friends. She told me a lot of different things about Dublin, about her friends and family that were still there, all the exciting things that she got to do. And so fast forward a few years into our friendship, I had an opportunity to go with her to visit. So it was my very first trip overseas. I really enjoyed it. We stayed about a month. We stayed with one of her sisters and brother-in-law over in Dublin. So I got to do a lot of the touristy type things. But then because we were staying with her family and she had cousins there, I was able to get used to a lot of the cultural things, etc. So I fell in love with Dublin, and I said, you know, one day I'm going to go live and work overseas. It took me a while to get there, but I did eventually do that. However, that first trip to Dublin led to other international experiences for me. So from there, I had opportunities after that that piqued my interest to go to other places. So I've spent a lot of time in the United Kingdom. I've done study abroad, took advantage of study abroad opportunities there. I also have been to France. I have good friends who are French, and they live in the south of France, in a town right outside of Cannes. So if you know about the Cannes Film Festival, I get to go, that's with whom I stay when I go there, New Zealand, etc. So it really did, the international travel bug hit me at that point. So as I said, this experience, I eventually did get to go live and work in Dublin, Ireland. And keeping in mind, my background is medical social work. So that was really helpful for me to get a position there. So just a little bit, just some facts about Dublin. In the PowerPoint that you all have, you're able to click on each of these links. So I've given you information about the CIA. They have a fact book about Ireland. It's a one-pager. So when you click on this link, it'll give you information. So Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. And sorry, now they've decided to do yard work outside, so I do apologize. But Dublin, Ireland, Dublin is the capital of the Republic of Ireland. And here on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a map. And I need for you to make sure, can you hold on for just a second, please? I am so sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So I think they're going to move on. But Ireland is split up into two countries for the most part. Well, I hate to say countries, but Dublin is located in Ireland. There are 6 counties make up Northern Ireland, which is not a part of the Republic of Ireland. That is part of the United Kingdom. So England, Wales, Scotland, though that makes up, and these 6 counties up here in Northern Ireland, that is part of the United Kingdom. But I work in the Republic of Ireland. Also, I've placed a link here for to Ireland.com. That's like the tourist website that they have. And if any of you are familiar with Rick Steves, he does Europe Through the Backdoor series. He has about a 30-minute video. Also, let me go back. Also, the Republic of Ireland, you will see all signs there in English and in Gaelic. Gaelic is still spoken by a small percentage of the people there. I can't speak it. I know it when I see it, but I don't know, I don't know how to speak it. But a lot of people will send their children to something called the Gaeltacht to learn the language and to keep it alive. So any bus that you get on, you'll see where you're going in English, and then it'll have the Gaelic name underneath. So when I went to Ireland, at that time, social work was a critical need profession. There were 3 critical need professions where it made it a little easier to get your work permit if you were coming from overseas. So the other 2 professions were nursing and IT. So it was social work, nursing, and IT. And I started looking for positions in Ireland by using my best friend's cousins that I had met. So that was, they told me about some employment agencies, the newspaper, of course, you're going to use that. And now you'll use that in an electronic format about looking for various social work opportunities in the area. So that was one way I used my social network to help me find employment there. I also used NASW, but of course they couldn't really give me a lot of information. I should have been going to the Irish version of that. But of course, internet searches, just doing things on my own. And one of her cousins knew about an employment agency that was recruiting social workers for Ireland. So I was able to interview for a position there. I didn't have to go to interview for the first position I had there. They came to us. The first position I had was a professionally qualified social worker in the Northern Area Health Board. And at the time, Ireland was split up. They had different health boards for different geographical regions in the Republic of Ireland. And those geographic regions provided health care, social services, and other benefits for the citizens in that particular geographical area. But before I could even, once I interviewed and I had the job, I had to become credentialed. And at that time, so we're talking about the early 2000s, at that time, all social workers that worked in the Republic of Ireland. So I had to send my passport, birth certificate, and there was something else, but I had to, and originals of my degrees and official transcripts for review. And that review process, it took about maybe 2 months. And then I obtained a certificate that said, it had my registration number, saying that I was credentialed based on my education and et cetera, to work as a social worker in the Republic of Ireland. And I still couldn't get on a plane yet to go over, because next the Northern Area Health Board had to do a work permit. So any country that you go to, if you're not interested in Dublin, let's say you want to go to France, wherever, if you want to go work overseas, each country has its rules about work permits. And usually it has to be that before they will hire someone from another country to come work in that particular country, it has to be a shortage. And you have to show that you couldn't find a citizen from that country to do the job that you're bringing in a foreign person to do. So that's where that critical need piece came in. Work permits, from my understanding, could take a very long time, up to a year or so. My work permit was able to be rushed. So I had mine in about 3 months. And you cannot go outside in the country while you wait on the work permit to be approved. You have to be outside of the country. Now that's for Ireland, for the Republic of Ireland. I can't speak about any other place, but the Republic of Ireland, wait until that work permit was completed. You had to be in your home country. So for me, that's the United States. And then once I had that work permit, because they asked me for it when I was trying to clear customs. But once that work permit was in place, then I could go and start my job. In that setting before, it was very brand new, and they placed me. I couldn't choose which area they placed me. They placed me in an inner city neighborhood called Ballymullah, a public health veteran in that neighborhood since I was there. But it was really drug ridden at the time, a lot of substance use, child abuse issues. So I did that job for about 3 months. It just was not a good fit for me. But before I left, I started making professional contacts in medical social work and found out that the Mater Misericordia Hospital, University Hospital, medical social workers, which was in my right up my alley. So the Mater Hospital, I was able to go interview. I did have to, when I left Ireland after leaving the position with the Northern Area Health Board, about 6 weeks later, I obtained, got an email from the Mater, from the social work department there, wanting me to come to an interview. They had 2 positions that were opening up. So for that interview, I did have to fund my own way to get back to Dublin to do the interview. And I obtained the job. I had to come back to the, once I interviewed, I had to come back to the United States, found out that yes, I did get the job. And then I had to wait for the work permit process again, because work permits in the Republic of Ireland, once you get one for one employer, it won't follow you to the next employer. So when I went back to Dublin, and that would have been like maybe 2 months later, I started working for the Mater Hospital. And I'm sorry, I'm seeing some things in the chat. Okay. All righty. So, but anyway, I went to the Mater Hospital, and which was founded by the Sisters of Mercy in 1852. And it's a university hospital, so that meant it was a teaching hospital. And that hospital, so it's a huge hospital. They have a public part, they have a private part, and I got to meet people from all over the world, because they had doctors and nurses and people from other allied health professions working at that hospital. The hospital's focus was education, teaching, and research. And they are now part of the Ireland East Hospital Group, which has an academic partner, which is the University College of Dublin. And you'll hear that called UCD. And that hospital serves as the national center for various specialties. Spinal injuries, heart and lung transplants. So anybody in the Republic of Ireland that needs those things, they'll come to the Mater Hospital. I worked for, covered two wards. You might hear them called units, floors, but I covered 2 medical wards. One was St. Agnes, and that was an orthopedic unit that housed the nation's National Spinal Injuries Unit, and St. Joseph's Ward, and that was a general medical ward. So I could get anything there. So for example, at St. Joseph's Ward, I had all different types of situations that would come up. So I had someone who had come in from another country seeking asylum there, about to give birth. Well, the matter, I had to coordinate things with another hospital in the geographical area that took care of, it was a maternity hospital, but the mother was at the Mater Hospital because there were some other issues that were going on that were not related to the pregnancy. On St. Agnes's ward, I had a lot of aging patients. But then on that National Spinal Unit, I had people from all ages, a lot of car accidents, that kind of thing. So it was just it was a whole new thing for me to get used to. But my social work experience came in handy. And at that point, I had a Master of Social Work. I also had a Bachelor of Social Work, but it was my MSW that got my foot in the door there. And when you hear me talking about St. Agnes's and the Sisters of Mercy, Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, the majority of people there are Catholic. And so it was the Catholic, it was the nuns who started this hospital, and the nuns that started it were called the Sisters of Mercy. Robin, if you have any questions, I'm sorry, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I hope you can hear me at this point. All righty. So, but feel free to raise your hand, put something in the chat. I've opened up the chat box so that I can see. So any questions at this point? Or Alexis, any questions at this point?
Let me unmute here. No questions. I just really appreciate the thoughtfulness of how the timeline of how this all worked, because I think that was one of my questions personally. Like, how do you even start? How do you even start to think about international social work, and especially the different areas, and, you know, just what the expectations are of each country? So I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I tell you, it was my social work experience did help me, particularly when it came to resources, because covering St. Joseph's Ward, for example, we had sometimes I know I had some homeless individuals that would show up there because it is what it is, and they would show up at the emergency department or the ED, and if they needed to be admitted, then they were transferred to a ward. And depending on what the issue was, they were transferred a lot of times to St. Joseph's Ward. So I would work with them with trying to find housing, whether it be, I would try to at least help them find transient housing, whether that be a shelter, or sometimes you could get this special funding where you could give them funding for B&B, which is a bread and breakfast, for a limited amount of time. But I had to, that was very different because in America, we don't have that kind of thing. You know, we have to, it's the homeless shelter or the streets for the most part. If you can find transient housing, great, but the process, I mean, it takes a while. So, but yeah, I had to learn a whole new system. My Irish colleagues, they helped me out a lot. I would ask them, hey, I connected with them a whole lot, saying, okay, so if I was in the United States and this situation came up, I would do A, B, C. Now I'm in a different country. What resources do you have? Is there anything? And so they would take me through that. The one thing I could not discuss, you know, when it came to, because it was a hospital that's still controlled for the most part by the nuns unofficially at this point. If a young lady or a couple, they came to me asking about contraception and that kind of thing, there were things I just couldn't talk about because that would get me into trouble. That's not something that I could do. So whereas here in the United States, I could give everybody, if someone showed up at my desk asking questions about that, I could give them all of their options. I couldn't do that there because of the restrictions that were in place. Some of the things, you know, in addition to, you know, learning a whole new system, then I met tons of great new friends, some of whom I still keep in touch with to this day. And whenever I go to Dublin, in addition, to visiting my best friend's family, I will visit my friends there. But when I lived there, though I loved the opportunity and all the great things, the fun things that there were to do, I did experience some homesickness, definitely culture shock. We may have the same language for the most part, but there are some things that are culturally different there than they are here in the United States. And I did get homesick. I didn't count on that. I just thought, hey, I'm up for this new experience, and was raring to go. But there were things, sometimes I would get homesick. I would call home. Back then, before, we have all these wonderful cell phone plans, not so much so at that point, so that I had a landline and I called home a lot and vice versa. And I used a phone card to keep those costs down. Food, I loved a lot of the food that I had in Dublin because that's the capital city, so very cosmopolitan. But one day I wanted biscuits. And over there, a biscuit is what we would call a cookie. So I wasn't finding any biscuits, and I'm from the South. So I really missed certain foods. My hair products, being an African American woman, you're not going to find that over there. I had my parents ship me my hair products. So there were some things that I had to get used to. So, but my Irish friends and family, and then other people that I met, they made sure, they helped me work through my homesickness that I was going through. But overall, I enjoyed my time there. I really did. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So the board that I had to go through initially to get licensed to work or registered to work as a social worker in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, that no longer exists. They now have an organization called, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Corru, and it is Ireland's multi-profession health regulator. They register a number of professions in addition to social work. So now let's say you want to go and work in the Republic of Ireland, you'll have to go through this organization to get registered. When you click on the PDF of the PowerPoint that I've sent you, you'll be able to link, I put a link so that you could go to the website. But they regulate the use of protected titles. And so not just anybody can go around calling themselves a social worker. So very much like NASW here, that there's title protections for social workers. And anybody in the Republic of Ireland wishing to use the protected title has to be registered through this organization. And this organization, their main role is to protect the public. So registrants are entitled to use the title that is designated to their profession as they have achieved the standard necessary to be registered within their profession. And it is a criminal offense for a non-registrant to use the protected title. So this organization, if someone is calling themselves a social worker and they're not registered with Corru, they have a task force that will prosecute. And as I said earlier, you see here, so when you go to their website, you will see, here's the Irish up top. So I do know how to pronounce cilantro because that's the cheers that, instead of, like here where we go cheers, it's cilantro over there. But here is what it says in English. Another organization that you will want to make contact with, and I didn't until later, was the Irish Association of Social Workers. And I have their purpose here. It's very much like the National Association of Social Workers here in the United States. It is the national professional body for social workers in the Republic of Ireland, and it was founded in 1971 and has a membership of more than 1,500 social workers. IASW is an active member of the International Federation of Social Workers, and I'll talk about IFSW a little bit more in just a few minutes. But IASW, the Irish Association of Social Workers, is an active member of the International Federation of Social Workers, which represents professional social work associations from over 55 different countries with more than 350,000 social workers in all parts of the world. And the IASW, the Irish Association of Social Workers, has a board that tasks them with what they need to do. But they also have a career section, so you can use that to look at various jobs that may be available. So even if you're not interested in working in Ireland, see if the country that you're interested in has an association of social workers, that professional association of social workers, because that is going to be very handy when it comes time for as a job resource. And again, if you know anybody in the area, friends, family, I don't know, another student, they are also a great source of information about jobs that would be available in the area. And it is true. Here they tell us that 80% of the jobs aren't advertised. It's kind of like the same way over there. You can still find jobs through advertisements and whatnot, but you really have an easier time if you know someone who knows someone. So you really have to use those professional and your social work networks. Even make sure that you use your international programs office at Union, because they probably keep, and even the career services offices, I'm sure they keep various jobs, a jobs database. They know people to get your foot in the door. Any questions at this point?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
And besides connecting with, I guess, does anybody have any success of using social media to connect with people? I wonder, and maybe you don't know the answer to that, but I was just thinking about that. There's a lot of these social work associations have social media outlets, and I wonder if that may be another outlet for students to try to connect with people.
That is a great suggestion, Alexis. Professor Glennon, sorry about that. That is a great suggestion. So use your social media contacts. Go through these organizations. They all have a social media presence. I'm not sure about Koru because they are the ones for whom you'll have to register. I don't know about a lot of the credentialing agencies. You would have to check that out. But for the professional organizations, yes. And they usually have some type of social media presence, Instagram, Facebook, look at LinkedIn as well. So then that way you can start making contacts that way. Use any contact that don't leave any stone unturned is what I'm trying to say. So the International Federation of Social Workers, they are the global body for the profession. And this organization strives for social justice, human rights, sustainable social development through the promotion of social work, through best practice and engagement in international cooperation. So this will lead you to their website. Can you all still see that? Because sometimes
Yes, we can see it.
okay,
Thank you.
great. And also, how many of you are doing a second language or even ASL, American Sign Language? You can use the raise hand function if you. I would highly encourage you to, I don't care what the language is. There are some critical need languages out there like Arabic. There are more. You would probably maybe could use the State Department's website to find out what those are. But sometimes if you have that second language, so I have a second language, I went later on and earned my French degree. So that comes in handy for Canada, because there are, you have the province of Quebec that's up there. And so I don't speak it as well as I would love to, but I can read it and write it fairly well. And so having that language skill is extremely helpful, extremely helpful. I don't care what language, whatever language you're interested in, even if it's American Sign Language, because I don't know how to do that. Please get that language skill. I think it helps you to become more marketable. But this is the International Federation of Social Workers website. Tons of great information. They have a conference. So while you're still a student, a lot of these conferences, so like NASW, probably the Irish Association of Social Workers, I can't speak for them, but I know they usually have a student rate. Attending these conferences, and some of them may be virtual, continue to be virtual because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. You can, because you won't have the travel expense, see if they have a student rate that you can access. Sometimes they have scholarships or grants that you can access, because going to these conferences is another way to make contacts. And people are coming in from all over the world for the various professional social worker conferences. So please, that's another way for you to make use of that. And I've got a short video. It's about 8 minutes from the International Federation of Social Work, and it's an introduction. So I'm going to share that with you. Let me make sure. And then I'll take questions if you have them afterwards. Can you see the screen that has YouTube on it?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great, great. You're welcome. Okay. It's not. Let me check my sound. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Not too sure why it's not giving me the sound that I need. My sound is working. Sorry.
Okay, if you want to try maybe putting it in the chat, and then I could try to play it on my end, if
Okay,
that would be
great.
helpful.
I will do that. Okay. Let me stop the share. Okay, I will do that. Thank you, Professor Glennon.
Sure. Got to navigate all these technical things, don't we?
Yes, yes.
All right, let's see if it works on my end. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if it It doesn't,
Welcome to this video.
Can
about
you
the
hear it?
International Federation of Social Workers.
can you
I can
hear
hear
that?
it.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'll start it over and I'll put it on full screen and then we'll,
And thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Welcome to this video about the International Federation of Social Workers. The awareness of social work is growing worldwide, and it is the fastest growing profession in the world. That is because the members of IFSW are taking action in every country to show the essential role of social workers to societies. In this video, my colleagues and I are going to explain how IFSW works, its areas of focus, and how you can be involved.
IFSW is the global body for the social work profession. We bring social workers practitioners from all across the world so they can share experiences, best practices, results of research, and together we really advocate for social justice and for human rights. In IFSW, we have 128 members. And these national social work organizations, they represent more than 3 million social work practitioners. We also have more than 400 IFSW friends who are individuals who are committed and engaged also in our mission and in our values. Some of the things that we do in IFSW with our members is that we really develop training activities on social work. We also collaborate and assist with them so they can sometimes create the national associations or they can even consolidate the programs. We also advocate for national laws that can protect social work and social work practitioners. But we also do something really important, and it's that we help our members to send their messages across the world. Many times we see situations where we have human rights violations or we have natural disasters, and social workers are just there on the first line of action. In IFSW, we take their voice and we send the message, not only across our members, but also across the world. So we really build up solidarity. We build up solidarity in the communities because at the end, that is what we are. IFSW is a solidarity community, and we work together with our members and the different departments of our structure.
IFSW has a range of policies that are relevant to social work practice. We publish them on our website. They are developed through discussion and debate by all of the IFSW members, and they are made sure that they are relevant for practitioners throughout the world.
To facilitate both growth and exchange, IFSW is composed of different organizational bodies, including the General Assembly, the Global Executive Committee, the Secretariat, and the Commissions. Together, they work to shape the very future of social work. And also, to facilitate exchange, IFSW has a publishing unit, and there are different books that we published in recent years, and we're looking forward to publish even more books. And you're very invited to actually make suggestions to new publications, because only through exchange we can learn about best practices, about how to even do better social work than we do already, and how to shape our very own future of our profession.
There is a long tradition in social work of social workers working as human rights defenders. IFSW brings us together in the Human Rights Commission, where regional representatives focus on supporting social workers who themselves are persecuted for standing up for human rights, and also bringing attention and advocacy on populations of people who are stripped of their rights. This is a fundamental part of social work and standing up for people's rights and enabling their voice to be heard by others to create a more social just world. Ethics are the glue that binds the profession of social work together at the global level. Wherever social workers practice, they have to follow the ethical principles that are set at the global level and then enshrined in the codes of ethics of every social work association. The IFSW Ethics Commission brings people together from throughout the world to update our ethical principles and to ensure that they are relevant for every society and can be applied by social workers in every social conditions. Social workers have a voice in the United Nations. It is critically important that the United Nations and other world bodies learn of a social work perspective to social development. Social workers work in every community throughout the world, and our perspective is that people must lead their own social development. When there are top-down strategies that do not include people, they very often fail. And social workers from the ground are supporting communities to be able to engage with the United Nations and other world bodies to be able to develop a social agenda that meets their real and sustainable needs. The IFSW UN Commission facilitates this work and brings social workers together throughout the world to ensure that they're prepared to support communities in advocating for their rights. The relationship between education and practice is of critical importance. As social workers, we learn every day, and we continue to learn from the people that we work with, from the research that occurs in universities, and also from our own practice wisdom. IFSW has established the Interim Education Commission, which will help facilitate and make a bridge of dialogue between all of these points of learning. And the objective of the Commission is to share this learning and to make sure that we can strengthen our profession as we face challenges today and the challenges of tomorrow.
World Social Work Day is one of the highlight moments on our calendar because it's a unique opportunity that we have to explain the world what is our unique and significant approach. It's an opportunity when all the social work community around the world, we organize events, we organize demonstrations to show what we do and what is our capacity to really facilitate sustainable community outcomes, to advocate really for capacity building, for social justice, and for human rights.
Advocacy is an incredibly important part of every social worker's job, and social workers are advocating for the rights of people in every setting throughout the world. At the global level, IFSW and its members do this by participating in the global agenda for social work and social development. This is a platform and a movement which promotes social justice throughout the world. We have had focuses on the social and economic rights of people, the dignity and worth of people, community and environmental sustainability, and the importance of focusing on human relationships. The global agenda for social work and social development is growing, and it is shaping social outcomes. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for your interest in the International Federation of Social Workers. You can be involved in our joint action in promoting social justice. You can contact the National Association of Social Workers in your country. You can participate in our social media discussions and through learning from the IFSW website. Through your contributions, through our joint action and through working together, through social work, we can shape the future of the world for social justice. Thank you so much.
All right, and I really
I was
like
starting to get comments from.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just shutting it off, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that I felt that short video could explain that organization better than I could. And I know when I taught intro, but I know we may not have any intro students in here, depending on what book you use. They usually, on the chapter about international social work, they will have information about the International Federation of Social Workers. There was one last thing before we go to question and answers. I forgot to mention the United Nations. Even if you don't, they have a lot of overseas positions, of course. So these are their social work jobs right now, but they still have some in New York, which is their where their HQ is, for lack of a better word. Become involved, do study abroad. If you find a study abroad opportunity, please do that for a country that you're interested in. If you still have time, if you're in your senior year, it's a little late, but if you're going off to do your MSW or another graduate degree, please take advantage of a study abroad opportunity. I know one of the ones that I did was through the University of Bristol, and it was in international social welfare policy. So I did medical social work. So I was able to find out a lot about the UK's system, about how their medical system was set up, and made a lot of good contacts. And the first article that I had published came from that research that I did, because I did that as an MSW. Okay, so questions. What additional questions do you have? Anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to know a little bit more about? Okay, I'm looking to see if there are any, nothing in the chat.
No, I don't see any. I would
Okay.
just like to say, I really appreciated today's presentation. And I think it's just such a critical perspective that isn't often brought into all social work programs, but that global perspective of social work practice. And I think, specifically, I think in the United States, sometimes we can get very like trapped in our own world
Yes.
here. And social work really is about global connections. I mean, it's like it's a ripple effect. We all impact each other in some way on this earth. And so really thinking about how as social workers, we can view it in a more global way. So I really appreciated today. And I think you gave a lot of really great tangible resources, because I also think that's the problem of where do we start? So thank you so much for all of those resources and suggestions.
Oh, you're welcome. And I've also placed my email in the chat. So if you think of questions that come up, or let's say you don't copy it from the chat, and Professor Glennon will knows how to contact me, and I'd be willing to answer any questions. But thank you all so much for having me today, and for allowing me to speak on a topic that I am personally and professionally passionate about. I want you to get out there. If this is something that you want to do, international social work is within your reach. Don't think it's not. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of resources that you have. You'll have this presentation as well, a PDF of it. But thank you all so much again. And I'm going to go if there's nothing else.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You all